Hello everyone, I'm Patrick Sheary, Curator of Furnishings and Historic Interiors here at the DAR Museum. And today we're going to be talking staircases and staircase restoration. But before we go behind the curtain, back here, I thought I would just show you a little bit about pre-restoration of the space. The spaces that we've been working on for about a year now. We have been taking these spaces here, as you will see, which were originally decorated and painted up with faux gold paint and all that. And probably, we're not sure exactly when it was done, but we're thinking it was done sometime in the 1950s when this type of decor was popular. And what we are doing on the interior is we're taking this out and we are restoring the interior with reinstalling the historic colors. And all the historic colors that you'll be seeing behind the curtain here will be based on paint analysis. So paint analysis means that we take paint chips from the walls, we put them under the microscope, and we can figure out what the original colors look like from that. And then we can make the new colors from modern paints, and then we apply that to the wall. So without further ado, let's look behind the curtain. Curtain number one, and see see a restoration of a staircase. So come along. So here I am at the second floor level of one of two grand staircases here in Memorial Continental Hall. Memorial Continental Hall was built between 1904 and 1910, and it was designed by Edward Pierce Casey, a noted architect. So let's look at the newly restored staircase in detail and analyze a few things for fun. The first thing is you'll notice the walls. The walls are painted in a color, kind of yellowish cream color, and again, those are the historic colors from 1910, and so this is what the walls looked like when the building was brand new. All the moldings and the plaster walls are painted that same color. This is Vermont marble, and what we did with the marble is we basically just cleaned it, and it went from gray to white. That's how dirty it was. It had 100 years of dirt accumulation and soot, basically. It was really interesting because in the restoration of this building, in club buildings, you often find, especially men's club buildings, you'll find a lot of nicotine and smoke residue from cigars and cigarettes and all that. But at the DAR, ladies didn't smoke in the building, and so we have not found any tar or nicotine or smoke cigarette residue at all. And so, we have been very lucky with that, because cleaning that stuff off of surfaces is really very messy. Anyway, so back to this. So the restoration crew, not only did they wash the walls, and you can, as we just talked about the paint, they also refinished these beautiful mahogany staircase handrails and these newel posts. Here we have a restored newel post, and it features these beautiful hand-carved bead. These little round things are called beads, and these longer sausage-looking things are called reels. Bead and reel design that encircle or edge this recessed panel. And what we did here, because the finish had deteriorated over the years, it had faded from the light from the skylight above, and also had been overcoated many times as the result of various maintenance campaigns. The finishes were pretty bad. So what we did was we had them stripped, hand stripped down to the mahogany, and then we restained them using the original formula. So in the spec book from 1904, which discusses how the building was to be put together and built and all that, it actually does tell the contractors how to stain up the stairs. So it said 2 coats of a reddish mahogany stain, reddish brownish mahogany stain, 2 coats of shellac on top of the stain, which restores the original look from 1910. So, and it's very smooth, and you want to run your hand all over it because it's so wonderful. And then each newel post it has these wonderful pine cone finials. We don't know who made them. They're cut glass, but we don't unfortunately have a bill. Sometimes it's hard. Bills weren't always saved, but we suspect that these were made in this country by an American glass manufacturer rather than imported from France. Although it could have been, but it's likely American glass manufacturer. And there were many who could make glass of this really nice quality at that time. The next thing with the staircase are these cast and wrought iron banisters, and they were again, they had been painted yellow with faux paint, bronze paint all over them. And so we again, based on paint analysis, we didn't remove the paint on these because they didn't have a lot of paint layers on them, and stripping the metal back down to the bare would have just been not only time consuming, very, very toxic. And the building as it was being restored was still using the building, so we didn't want to chase everybody out of the building. So and also the original iron has a coating on it that protects it from rusting. So we didn't want to disturb that, and it's held up for over 100 years, and we suspect it will again. So what we did was cleaned everything up, and then applied the historic paint colors to that. And you can see the details are wonderful with the flowers here and the rosettes in the middle, and then these wonderful arched, these little arch motifs here that ascend up the stairs. So next to the marble staircase, kind of as a transition, but also to match go better with the marble, you'll see the cream color here, but also the baseboard that runs up the staircase is painted painted white, brighter like pearl color. It's actually a gray, but it's very, very, very light gray, which under regular daylight shows up as white. So it kind of goes with the marble on the staircases. So the staircases have, like buildings of this time period, have wonderful details. You'll notice that the rise of the staircase here, there's a recessed panel, and it has edged with a relatively simple molding. But then at the base of the newel posts, where the two strings of staircase meet, you'll notice at the bottom there are these, I think I will use this. There are these wonderful carved drop finials. So up here too, this wonderful drop carved finial of leaves and surrounding what looks to be some sort of flower. Sometimes these things are so stylized you can't really tell what they are. And again, all of these elements here were hand washed and cleaned of many, 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 basically centuries worth of grime. So just to show more details here of the staircase, right here we've got this wonderful element which is called a bracket. And it looks like it's holding up a lot of weight, but it really isn't holding up a lot of weight. Actually, a steel beam is holding everything up. But it makes for an additional bit of interest and architectural beauty to the space. And this particular bracket we have a scrolled sides here, and then we've got this wonderful leafage right here. This kind of S-curved leaf, and then there are these beautiful flowers here on either side. So again, lots of details in this building that before, a lot of these details were covered over with the faux gilding, which really busied things up and made it like you couldn't even see these details, believe it or not, because the faux gold paint was just so busy, made it so extra busy. And so the removal of that has made the architectural features much more obvious and apparent to the viewer. The staircase, as well as the rest of the building, feature some original, most of the original light fixtures. These are gilded brass or bronze, and they were originally made for electricity. They were made in America, in Philadelphia, and around 1910. So the building was originally, as conceived, built for electricity. So the ladies wanted a building that was ultra modern, and so electricity at the time was relatively new, and the ladies wanted to make sure that they had a fireproof modern building, and electricity filled that bill. Here we are back down in the unrestored area, and I just wanted to show you some features of the 1950s decor that we are changing as a result of the restoration. So we're going to look up here at what's called the cornice, or the entablature up here, and this area, it has an awful lot of bronze paint in it. And you can see it makes the moldings look very, very, very busy, because the person applying it got a little happy with the brush and decided that more was better, and so it really muddies up the look. And you'll see when we go into the restored area how this is considerably changed, and you can see the architectural details better. You can also see down here this bracket in this doorway here, and also all of the bronze paint here on the moldings and everything. We did find again through paint analysis that there was some gilding used, but it was very selective as to where it was placed. So we'll see that when we go to the other side. So here we are on the restored side of the building, and you might already be able to see that there's quite a difference in the overall look, aside from the fact that it appears brighter, but also it is much brighter and much lighter in feeling. The bronze paint, of course, has been removed, and all the colors that you see here are the historic colors from 1910. Again, it was based on paint analysis so that we know what the colors looked like from the period based on micro-analysis. So, and when I say colors, in the hallways, unlike other elements of the building, like the staircase, these particular areas here had a subtle array of colors applied. So it's not just one color of cream, although it might maybe appear that way in the film, but it actually is cream and light cream, whitish color, and then a gray to highlight. And there are also different finishes of the paint. So there's a satin and a semi-gloss. So the satin is on the flat plaster walls, and the semi-gloss is on all the moldings and the woodwork and the doors and windows and things like that. So it provides a nice contrast, not only in color, a subtle contrast in color, but also subtle contrast in the finishes. So if you look up at the ceiling here, like you can see now, and I don't probably even have to point it out, but you can actually see the molding details that you really couldn't see when all of these were painted heavily painted up with bronze paint. You can see what these motifs are called an egg and dart motif. The egg is the thing that looks like an egg, and the dart is this element here, which of course looks like a dart. And then these brackets up here, you can see the leaves and the scrolls much better than you could when it was heavily encrusted again with that bronze paint. And if we come down the ceiling, the wall here, you'll notice this frame around the door and these brackets here on either side. These are painted that contrasting subtle gray color, that very, very light gray, that looks white in certain light, but it's actually very, very light gray. Now, I've mentioned that we did find through paint analysis the application of gilding, and in fact, there is gilding here, but it was only applied very selectively. So if you look at this wall here, you'll notice that the panels, the flat part of the panel molding here is gilding. And in this instance, we didn't use gold paint. We actually used real 24 karat gold leaf on these areas, so it won't tarnish. The doors were highlighted in gold too, so each door to any of the principal rooms on the floors was highlighted in gold. And but that changes as we go up from the first floor to the second floor to the third floor, and we will take a look at that. So here we are, we made it to the second floor. And the reason why we're looking at the second floor is because I wanted to underscore how the decor changes as we go from one floor to the other. So the first floor, the main floor, is the most important. So that has the most ornate decoration, and it also has the most gilding. When we come up to the second floor, the architecture gets a little more simple, although in this area here, you might not be able to tell that because we're actually outside what was the official boardroom that the DAR ladies, the national board actually used. They don't anymore, but they used it for their official meetings when they would come to town. So outside the boardroom here, it's very elaborate with these beautiful door surrounds and these brackets and all that, because it's the board, it's the official area. But again, you can see here the colors. This makes a great space to see the gray and the cream colors. Again, you can see it in these moldings here, here, and here, and on the capitals here of the pilasters, and also in the brackets and all these motifs here around the doors, as the grayish, the very light gray contrasts beautifully and subtly again with the cream color of the rest of the woodwork. But you'll also notice when we come up to the second floor, there's a lot less gilding. So the panel moldings that you saw downstairs are not gilded; they're just left plain. However, gilding is still remains on this floor only around the doors. So around the door to one of these doors to the boardroom, for instance, there's gilding applied there, and also around the elevator door and the other two doors going down the hallway. You'll also notice as you look down the hallway, you'll see how the architecture is getting much more simple. So the rest of the hallway on the second floor here has much simpler cornice moldings that don't have those brackets that I was talking about before. It has basic simple moldings with these little tooth-like projections are called dentiles. So here we are up on the third floor, and again, bringing you to the different floors to show you how the architectural treatment and the decor changes as we move up the stairs. And in this area, this represents the restored part of the third floor, and you'll notice the colors are basically one color, the cream, except for the baseboards are that beautiful gray that you saw downstairs. But also absent is gilding. There's no gilding on the third floor. The plainness of the space reflects the least ceremonial and the most functional part of the building. So you have smaller rooms, The proportions are smaller. The ceiling isn't as tall, and all that. In the restoration, we've also had some opportunities to highlight some technological details of the building. So this steam radiator was hidden by a 1960s cover, and so we removed that, and we painted the radiator what it was originally, which was this, again, the gray. You'll notice these beautiful classical details, stylized flowers and tendrils and all of that on this. These radiators were made by the American Radiator Corporation, and and the building, of course, the entire building was originally heated by steam, and there was a steam plant at the back of the building in its own kind of concealed chamber, under subterranean chamber. Today, it's forced air, and it was converted in the 1980s. But originally, this is how the building was heated, and it's really nice to see details like this surviving, and we can have a chance to interpret them and talk about them. After all, we are in a museum, so. So other details we've been able to restore in the building for fun have been things like this. This element here, of course, is a light switch. And the building was originally equipped with what these are called push-button light switches. So what you do, of course, is you push them to turn off and then push it again to turn on. And these are reproductions. They're not antique, but they still do make them today, and many of you might have seen them, and maybe you've put them in your own house. But anyway, they're a fun little touch to add some authenticity to an already fabulous building. And so it's all about the details, and that's where that's what makes people go, ooh. So here's another little nerdy curatorial detail that goes along with the light switches in the restoration are these receptacles here. These normally what we see here, you're probably thinking, well, why is he talking about that? Well, actually, I'm mentioning this because normally what you see in receptacles today are white, and no matter home, work, whatever, they're usually white. And in the period of 1910, receptacles were not usually white. They were actually either made out of hard rubber or bakelite, and they were what the industry calls today brown, but they appeared black to us. And so to kind of create that, to continue that historic look, we've, instead of installing white ones, we've installed black ones or brown ones. And yes, they are ground in three-prong, which would not have been typical of the period, but we do have to make concessions for safety as well. So, but it's a nice little detail that you may or may not have noticed, probably would never have noticed, but the curator is here to show you these details.